Hey there, welcome to my channel. I'm here to answer a question that has bothered many people since the first time they learned about human evolution. Why didn't it happen to tigers? I mean, with their super strength and hunting prowess? Tigers seem like logical candidates for evolving into some kind of hyper-intelligent cat overlords, right? Or what about lizards? They've been around forever, outnumber us 10 to 1, and have a leg for every occasion. Why didn't they become the dominant species on Earth? Well, because they didn't get the memo that we were supposed to take over, and now we're just taking their parking spots. More seriously, the truth is, tigers and lizards did evolve along their own unique paths, becoming better hunters and more efficient sunbathers than any other species in their respective classes. But their evolutionary trajectories just didn't include the combination of large brains, dexterous limbs, and erect posture that has resulted in humankind sitting atop the proverbial food chain. So why not them? Well, the short answer is that most of the traits we associate with being human didn't arise fully formed in our fishy, tree-dwelling ancestors 6 million years ago. Rather, these features developed gradually in response to environmental challenges and opportunities over tens of millions of years. And our particular suite of traits just happened to be really suitable for further modification into what we see today. You could think of it like an evolutionary Goldilocks situation, where our branch of the primate family tree ended up just right for becoming human. In fact, much of the story of human evolution can be boiled down to the gradual nature of change and how small differences can have big consequences. First, let's talk about the primate starting kit. Around 65 million years ago, our earliest known primate ancestors were small proto-lemurs, living in the tropical forests of what is now North Africa. Now, if you've watched my channel before, you know I don't like talking about the so-called missing link, because there isn't one. Evolution isn't a linear progression, and we aren't missing anything. We just don't have a ton of fossil evidence from this period. But what we do know is that these early primates possessed a suite of ancestral traits that turned out to be really important for our future. These traits didn't arise specifically for the purpose of making humans, but they provided the raw material for our evolution. So here are some key features that characterized our primate ancestors tens of millions of years ago, and why they were so important. Grasping hands and feet, opposable thumbs, and big toes are classic primate hallmarks, though only found in about half of primate species. And yes, some primates don't have opposable thumbs, like tree kangaroos, which instead have big first toes and grasping feet. But thumbs or not, the overall pattern of our hands and feet is quite versatile. These flexible appendages were originally well suited for life in trees for arboreal locomotion, moving securely among branches, grasping leaves and vines, manipulating food. Having thumbs, to be honest, didn't really add anything extra to this. These hands and feet are pretty much identical to those of early primates, just with thumbs attached. Forward-facing eyes, binocular vision. Having forward-facing eyes that give us depth perception is another classic primate feature. The ability to judge distances accurately came in handy for leaping between branches and catching prey. But this trait also laid the groundwork for the next critical step in our evolution: relatively large brains. Compared to many other mammals of similar body size, primates generally have larger brains. Now, brain size alone isn't everything, like bigger isn't necessarily better. But a larger brain does provide more neural raw material to work with, especially in the parts of the brain responsible for advanced thinking and social behavior. Complex social structures. Many primate species live in complex social groups with multiple overlapping levels of relationships and cooperation, and they use a variety of vocalizations and gestures to communicate. This environment selects for social intelligence. It's understanding the relationships of individuals within a group, communicating effectively, cooperating to acquire food, competing for resources and status. All of these activities require advanced cognitive abilities. And of course, I couldn't omit this next one, although it's not found in all primates. Dietary flexibility. Primates tend to have fairly varied diets, although not all eat the same things. They often face periods of food scarcity. This promotes dietary flexibility and encourages problem-solving to find, process, and consume different food sources. Okay, so these 5 traits are what I'm calling the primate starting kit, a set of features that are common among primates today, in which our ancestors possessed tens of millions of years ago. They weren't aimed at producing humans specifically, but they provided a foundation upon which natural selection could act. The real story of human evolution begins when a small population of primates split off from other primates and began to walk habitually on two legs. Over time, our ancestors lost their tails, developed larger brains, smaller jaws, flatter faces, and more hairless bodies. These changes were driven by the transition to life on the ground, the expansion of social groups, dietary shifts, and other factors. We'll talk about that in another episode. But here I want to focus on the fact that the hominin lineage, a branch of the primate family tree, was still very much a primate. Even after 6 million years of further modifications, we retain many of the basic features of our primate cousins. We still have grasping hands and feet, forward-facing eyes, and relatively large brains. We even share roughly 98% of our DNA with chimpanzees. Humans are primates through and through. So the short answer to our question of why human-like intelligence evolved in the primate lineage and not in tigers is that the primate starting kit was, in some sense, primed for the trajectory that led to us. Grasping hands and feet, forward-facing eyes, relatively large brains, complex social structures, and dietary flexibility were all features that provided a basis for further modification and change. For instance, the ability to walk upright freed our hands from the duties of balance and locomotion, making them more permanently available for carrying objects, making and using tools, and gesturing. That gesture is important for social communication. Tigers and lizards both have excellent hand-free upper body mobility, but neither has the specific combination of skeletal and muscular modifications that enable permanent habitual bipedalism. Tigers and lizards are excellent at being tigers and lizards. They're perfectly adapted to their niches. So why do they need to change? Meanwhile, the ability to manipulate objects in a precise way and walk upright are two of the key features that have distinguished our species from all others in the natural world. Now, will a super-intelligent breed of lizard eventually rise to dominate the planet? Who knows? Evolution is always full of surprises. Maybe you'll be watching a video about lizard humans in your lifetime. Why not tigers or lizards? As we've seen, tigers and lizards both have features that are well suited for their own evolutionary paths, but that don't easily map onto the trajectory that led to us. There are 3 major reasons why neither lineage nor any other is likely to produce a human-like species anytime soon. First, both lineages lack many of the key pre-adaptations found in primates. For instance, tigers and many lizards have poor binocular vision, not because their eyes are positioned differently than ours, but because their eyes are adapted to look in different directions at the same time. Although excellent for spotting predators and prey, this kind of vision isn't ideal for manipulating small objects. Second, other than the obvious physical differences, there's a lack of necessary social and cognitive structures. Tigers are mostly solitary, and most lizards have little in the way of complex social interactions. They don't live in groups large enough to require advanced communication or social intelligence. Again, there are exceptions, but they don't negate the general trend. Third, even if tigers or lizards did possess the right combination of physical and social features, there is no reason to think that natural selection would favor the evolution of human-like traits in either case. Tigers are superb hunters, and their sleek, flexible forms allow them to take down massive prey. They're perfectly suited to their ecological roles. Similarly, the vast majority of lizards have gone through many successful evolutionary iterations and are remarkably well adapted to diverse environments worldwide. Evolution favors organisms that are well suited to their environments. So unless there were strong enough pressures favoring human-like traits in either tigers or lizards, these lineages will continue to produce more of what they already have, not what we might deem as progress toward human-like traits. And again, that's not to say that they can't undergo significant changes in the far future, but it's just very unlikely. So there you have it. The story of how humans evolved is a story of millions of years of small changes and contingent events. The suite of traits we call human didn't just emerge overnight, and it wasn't inevitable. Our particular evolutionary journey just happened to provide us with the right stuff to become the tool-making, hunting-gathering, community, language-speaking creatures that we are today. Other animals have their own unique evolutionary journeys too. Tigers and lizards didn't become human-like because they don't have the same starting point. They just have their own starting points. Thank you for watching. Hope you learned something, and please feel free to leave your thoughts and comments.